hopefully our city manager will come in just a minute. We have some other folks back there. But I would like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to call on Councilmember Richard Joyner to lead us in prayer. If you're able, ask you to stand.
Let us bow as we pray. Almighty God, we thank you for this rich privilege to gather as our community and citizens come together. We thank you for the privilege that you gave us to celebrate this weekend. Private Hoover Jones, the Jones family, and thank you for the proof that it shows when our community collaborate together, the greatness that we produce. So help us tonight, God, as we go forth, that our problems will not be our total focus, but our solutions. We thank you in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Knight.
Here.
Blackwell.
Here.
Joyner.
Here.
Whiteman. Here. Rogers.
Here.
Bullock.
Here.
And Miller.
Hope you came in. There's an agenda there in the box. We do go by the agenda item. We're on item number 4 now. Approval of the minutes of the regular rescheduled meeting of the City Council, which was held on May 28, 2019. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes? Not, then they'll be approved as is. Have item 5 is a consideration. This is some minutes from some special call meetings of the Committee of the Whole. They were budget sessions primarily on May 23rd, 28th, 29th of May. All no formal action, just presentation only. On June 5th, there was a recommendation to increase the contribution to the United Crisis Ministry and the Bassett Center by $10,000 for a total of $30,000, and recommendation for the following appointments to the Animal Control Advisory Board. It was Ellen Matthews and Bruce Wetzel. And then June 10th, we had a closed session with no action. The recommended action is to approve the minutes and recommendations.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Rogers, second by Councilmember Joyner. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Item 5 is approved. Item 6 is petitions to be received from the public. Again, this is our portion of the meeting where you could come forward and address the council. We do value your input. If you'd like to address the council, you've signed up. If you didn't, we'll get you a sheet. Come up to the podium and speak in a civil, non-argumentative, and respectful manner. Personal attacks which have the potential to disrupt the meeting will not be tolerated, and you'll be asked to sit down or removed from the meeting. We will monitor the time, and again, in most cases, if you raise a question, the council may not answer it tonight, but may refer the matter to the city manager or staff. If your comments in regard to an item that is the subject of a public hearing, I'm not sure we have any tonight, then we ask you to wait for that time. So at this time, ask Samuel Battle to come forward, 216 Oak.
Good evening. Private First Class William Hoover Jones, thank you for sacrificing so that we can live in a free country. May you forever rest in peace. We salute you. Private First Class William Hoover Jones is my hero to this Rocky Mount community. I wanted to thank the Jones family for bringing him home to Rocky Mount. And I want to thank the U.S. Army too. Mr. Jones fought for what we believe in, can have the right to do what we want to say and what we want to do. Thank you, Pastor Gill, for preaching the great sermon when you said the Christian life is not lived in on the playground, but fought on the battlefield. That was my confirmation to me. If you did not know what confirmation means, it means I'm a soldier of Christ. I want to acknowledge the people I seen on the front line when Mr. Jones' ceremony came into Rocky Mount on South Church Street going into the funeral home. Kim Bledsoe, Barry Reed, Leah firefighter. Barry Reeves was one of the guys on the motorcycle who was driving that he hollered at me. Teresa Patterson, Kevin Jones, Gwen Wilkins, Bronson Williams, Sandy Robinson, and Chief Robinson, and the fire chief, I don't even know his name, but and the city manager. I'm glad that y'all was on the front line when he came into Rocky Mount, and I appreciate that. I just want to say that some of us, it's my opinion, in Rocky Mount, some of the black leadership that we feel have failed us. I don't want to call them, I'm not calling them names, but they can do more to help us in this community. We're trying to bring a lot of stuff together, like this crime. We are hollering out, hope that God give us a call to meet with us. You know, in Raleigh, North Carolina, the gangs are tired, they call the truth in Raleigh, North Carolina. They had tied flags, they had called the truth. It's time for them to call the truth in Rocky Mount. You know, I don't know how we can sit around and talk about, you know, how gangs are not in my neighborhood, like I keep saying, gangs
Got
are
like
here.
30 seconds.
And we gotta do something about this. Crime don't bring business to Rocky Mount. You know, people run from crime. You know, we gotta do better, man. We gotta come together in this city and step up as leaders in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Dimitri Clark, 600 Amos Street. Pull the mic up so we can hear you. That's good.
Monday morning, around like 6 o'clock, my dog was shot by Officer Jerry Judd. He had no real explanation why he shot my dog. He actually switched his story up 3 times. First he said he pulled away his pants leg. The second time he said he charged him. And the third time he said something about his fellow officer that was with him. So he switched it up 3 times. So yeah, like I said, it was 6 o'clock in the morning. When I arrived home, which was 7:45, my dog was still outside my backyard bleeding. So when he shot my dog, which was a block away from my house, he followed my dog to my house, and really, he ain't have no business shooting my dog, which was, so, I mean, we asked him why he shoot my dog. He, like I said, he lied. Kind of irritated, sorry about that, but,
Just take your time.
my dog sat outside for an hour and a half bleeding with no help. When the police patrol got there, they asked the officer why he shoot the dog, why he even tried to tame the dog. He gave them no real reason. My family's hurting for this. And I went down Tuesday morning, down to the police office and put a complaint on the officer with Jerry Judd and Lieutenant Seaman, I don't know how to say his name, and Sergeant Spencer still gave me, I still haven't got no call for them, no hear back from them, no nothing. I just want justice for my dog right now. When they asked me what I want to do, first thing they were saying, just put my dog to sleep. They ain't trying to offer no help. They were telling me that the vet's gonna cost too much. It's gonna cost over $1,000 just to down payment, just for them to start the surgery. They didn't offer me no. There wasn't no real, that's not no real help right there. I mean, for the officer just to shoot my dog with no explanation. When he asked him why he didn't take him, he said my dog was too big. And this was all coming from my wife when he talked to the officer, because like I said, I arrived an hour and 30 minutes later after he had already shot my dog.
You got about 30 seconds.
Okay, so Officer Jerry Judd was already off the premises, and there was 8 other cops out there who also could vouch and say that they don't know why he tried to tame my dog, because that's not the officer's job to try to tame the dog. They're just supposed to make sure he's not hurting nobody, which is 6 o'clock in the morning, there's nobody out there. You're just supposed to make sure the dog was being watched. So,
I'm gonna give this to the city manager and let her follow up with you,
Yes, sir.
and somebody will be in contact with you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Nathan O'Reed, 1713 Beverly Road, and after that, Bob Carr on Brassfield.
Good afternoon, Mayor Combs, City Manager Rochelle Small-Tony, and City Council members. As stated, my name is Nathlyn O'Reed, and I am the wife of Gregory O'Reed, who is the proud nephew of Private First Class William Hoover Jones. And I want to personally thank you for everything that you have done to communicate with us and with the counties from here to Raleigh, including our Governor, Roy Cooper, and our Congressman, G.K. Butterfield, to help us bring our uncle home. It has been a long wait. I've been in the family for 32 years, and he has been a discussion for all these years, and many of you are our friends and have been a part of the discussion. And the weather was beautiful, the people were beautiful, the spirit was beautiful, and we believe that Hoover has come home for such a time as this to help unite our city, and it is a beautiful thing, and we are looking forward to bringing to fruition his desire for everyone to have liberty, justice, and freedom for all. Thank you, City of Rocky Mount. You really showed out this weekend. You really poured your hearts out, as well as the many volunteer hours that the city police and the county police, everybody supported us through donations of time without asking for any money. It was a beautiful thing, and I believe that with the right attitude and the right procedure, with people submitting their requests appropriately, that a lot of things can be handled appropriately in our city to maintain the peace. And Hoover is an example. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Robert Carr, 4005 Brassfield.
I agree with the lady. It was a wonderful event honoring a soldier that gave his life for our protection. There are many others that have done the same. We have a wonderful monument down there on Church Street that honors the veterans. And they have a special event every year, which was not too long ago. And it's a great event. And WB was speaking at it, and it was if you've been in the military, you really appreciate that. And I've been, and I appreciate it. I served in Vietnam, and anyway, that was not the nicest vacation I've ever had. But anyway, I want to commend you, Mrs. Small-Tony, about your appointment for George Robinson. He's a great leader, and he'll do a wonderful job as police chief. And now I want to ask about the event center. This is just some curiosity seeking here. I think the city, the citizens of the city should be informed on how the event center is doing profit and loss. And I think there should be a statement published in the paper on a monthly or quarterly basis about the income and the outflow, and see how it's going. And on this, frequently there'll be events that are going on, and it'd just be nice to know that we're bringing in some money, because it costs a lot to just open the doors over there for the heat or the air conditioning while it's running, and the security and all that it costs. And it needs to be generating some income off that. It'd be interesting to see what it is, what has progressed so far. I have a question. I don't even really know if I should ask it or not, but I'm just wondering. OIC, I understand, gives free utilities over at that building, and I don't know if that's true Okay. All right. And I'm curious as to how Ms. Maltoni is progressing on the appointments of department heads.
Thank you, sir.
Hope you're coming along with it.
I am, and hopefully I'll have an announcement for the fire chief as well as the interim director of energy resources within another week or so.
Bronson Williams, 1611 Hargrove, and then Lige Aldridge will follow him.
Good afternoon. As we look at policing throughout America, I'm sure that most cities are faced with the difficulty of recruiting officers from the local community. But I would love to see this city create an environment in which young people see themselves as police officers. And not just a police officer, but a Rocky Mount police officer. As I'm talking to people engaged in the community, oftentimes I hear them talking about a us versus them. And somehow or another we have to create an environment where it's just us. It's the community as a whole. And so if we can create some type of marketing strategies, some relationships and things where we can really see the engagement, because I saw the engagement Sunday at the bowling event where police officers are coming out, but oftentimes it isn't captured. So we can figure out a way of capturing that and really seeing the great work that our police department is doing, perhaps that will help with some local recruitment, because oftentimes I think that might even help with some stereotyping that we see across America with policing in America. That if you know the person in your community, oftentimes you look at them differently and offer ways to help versus being a punitive type system. So I hope that we can look at that as a city and figure out ways to strengthen our community relationships. Thanks.
Thank you. Lige Aldridge.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. First of all, I would like to make a formal request that you send a copy, or I'd like a copy of the presentation you just received at the Committee of the Whole in Davenport County from Ted Cole regarding the finances in relation to the hotel, proposed hotel, in addition to the impact it will have along with the event center. Found that interesting, and it's been presented to the City Council, so therefore it should be public knowledge. And also would like to commend you in the reading of the previous minutes, the addition to the Bassett Center with what the city gives. I think that is a wonderful thing. I appreciate you doing that. The real purpose of me coming up here tonight is in regards to item number 15 on your agenda, which is the $25,000 to be used for, I guess, to purchase a building or adjacent to the property of the church. In 2015, I think in a closed session, this city council agreed to purchase this same property, the education building, the shed, for $335,000, which sits on about 0.37 acres, which is adjacent or on top of Parker's Canal. This is the one where the education building, I think, was collapsing due to Parker's Canal. But we did purchase the land and everything on that, to my understanding, unless the city attorney can tell me otherwise. But now it looks like we're going to pay an additional $25,000, bringing the total to $360,000. And to my knowledge, I can't find anywhere, but again, I could be corrected, that there was no lease or rent paid for this shed after we purchased the property, but we're now going to pay $25,000 towards that. I'm confident this is an oversight by the City Council and management. Provided documentation, which I've got documentation, which I'll leave right here, references the September 2015 unsigned agreement, but it's clear by the Edgecombe County Register of Deeds the filing, the transaction took place in December of 2015. So I hope there's some questions asked when this comes up, and I hope there's some clarification made. And if there's any questions, I hope that you either table it or we move on without paying the $25,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Deloach, 717 Parham.
I just personally wanted to come thank the city of Rocky Mount and the police department through a basketball camp, as you guys know, June 1st and June 8th. I missed the last meeting because I was out of town. But I just wanted to personally thank everyone on the city council and the city and the police department. I think within 2 camps, we reached up to 400 kids and, had some other pro athletes to come through the town, the city, and they really enjoyed coming out. And I just wanted to come personally thank everyone for all the support, the Rocky Mount Police Department as well. And also held some voting events and the Rocky Mount Police Department stopped through. And, I just wanted to thank everyone, and I'm going to continue to do what I have to do to help the city and help the youth become better. And, I just want to say thank you again.
Thank you. That's the end of our petitions from the public. We don't have any others at this time, so we will move on to item 7. That is the consent agenda. A is a consideration of the following temporary street closings. I believe this is for consideration of Daphne Trevathan and president of Happy Hill Community to close the block of 1,000 block of Star and Gold and 500 block of North Harris and Vine. It surrounds a historic P. Holloman Park, and this is from 1 to 5 on Sunday, July the 7th for the Happy Hill Community Day event. And then a consideration from Katrina Jordan Blunt to close the 600 block of Green Street from 11 to 3 on Sunday, the 29th. This is for a community outreach block party. Item B is consideration of some releases of taxes over 100 recommended for release or refunded. Consideration of the following fiscal year 2019-20 ordinances. There's a number on there. I'm not going to read them all. Most of them relate to our transit system. Item 2 is community development block grant. This is an entitlement grant project at the Home Investment Partnership. Requires a matching appropriation of $50,000. And then there's a grant project ordinance also that has a number of grants that we've been involved in, and we're trying to close these out at this point. And then there's another transit on, let's see. Recommended actions to approve the consent agenda inclusive of the approval of the temporary street closings, tax releases, and adoption of the ordinances. Are you vote?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Joyner, second by Councilmember Rogers. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Item 9 is approved. 7. Item 8 is a consideration, this is for fiscal year 2019-20, budget ordinance amendments to fees. A is a budget ordinance establishes appropriations for the 19-20 and sets up a valorum taxes at .685 per 100 taxable assessed value. It's the same tax rate as our current fiscal year. And B, amendments to fees and charges, has to do with public works, and this has to do with our solid waste transfer station tipping fee. Recommended action is to adopt the budget ordinance and to adopt the resolution amending the fees and charges listed above. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Watkins, second by Councilmember Joyner. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Item 8 is approved. Item 9 is consideration of, again, a fiscal year 2018-19 budget ordinance amendment.
Mr. Mayor, could you?
Yes.
I'm sorry, we're not having a tax increase or any other increases except for this one. Could the manager just speak to that, to the public? Why this particular one, will we have increases?
You talking about the tipping fee?
Yes, well, I'll ask Ken Hunter, the budget manager, to come forward, but as I understand it, due to an increase in the contract, this is the way that the city make adjustments for that without raising the residential rates.
Yes, this is correct. This is the rate that we charge for wholesale and for construction tipping that comes to the transfer stations, for those who pay per ton. And this is in line with the disposal contract that we have for the wholesale disposal of our waste. It does not affect residential collections.
Just want to make it clear to the public, thank you.
Any other questions? I think we've already had a motion to approve that. So item 9, again, is a budget ordinance amendment. A is for the electric, increases the appropriation in the electric fund for some additional electric working capital of $500,000. And B, on gas, it increases the appropriation in our gas funds to fund the following. One is our wholesale gas purchases for the remainder of the fiscal year, working capital reserves, and our rate stabilization reserves. The recommended action is to adopt the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Blackwell, second by Councilmember Joyner. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Item 9 is approved. Item 10 is a consideration of declaring certain personal property surplus and authorizing disposal by electronic auction via GovDeals. Recommended action is to adopt a resolution declaring surplus property and authorizing disposal by electronic auction.
Move. Second.
Motion by, is that Councilmember Knight, second by Councilmember Joyner. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Item 10 is approved. Item 11 is a consideration of amendment to PNC Treasury Management Agreement. It updates various fees and the earnings credit rate. Expected to have a net annual financial impact of increasing revenues by approximately $42,800. The recommended action is to approve the amendment, authorize the Director of Finance to execute the same on behalf of the city.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Blackwell, second by Councilmember Rogers. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Item 11 is approved. The next item is item 12. This is a consideration of the First Amendment to our gas service agreement, and this is with Piedmont Natural Gas. It increases the maximum delivery point entitlement at the City Gate Station number 2, which is up in Brattleboro. And again, you may understand all this, 284 decatherms per hour, 6,816 decatherms per day to 350 per hour and 8,400 per day. And this is necessary to supply natural gas to Pfizer. The recommended action is to approve the amendment, authorize the mayor to execute the same on behalf of the city.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Blackwell, seconded by Councilmember Joyner. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Item 13 is a consideration of a municipal agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation. This is for adjustment and relocation of city-owned water infrastructure. This is necessary as part of an I-95 interchange improvement at North NC4 and Halifax Road. Recommended action is to approve the agreement and authorize the mayor, city clerk, and finance director to execute the same on behalf of the city.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Rogers, seconded by Councilmember Joyner. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Item 13 is approved. Item 14 is a consideration of the 2019 Urgent Repair Program Assistance Policy. Item 2 there is our 2019 Procurement and Disbursement Policy, and 3 is our North Carolina Housing Finance Agency Urgent Repair Program post-approval documentation. It does outline eligibility requirements, the selection process, and overall program process, and bidding payment process. The recommended action is to approve the policies, authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the policies on behalf of the city, and 3, authorize the city manager to execute post-approval documentation on behalf of the city. Your motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Watkins, seconded by Councilmember Joyner. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 14 is approved. Consideration of agreement with God of Deliverance Ministries. It compensates the church for removal of the brick building for the city's stream stabilization project and calls for the city to make payments to the church in the amount of $25,000. This is to be used for construction of replacement building on the church's adjacent property or for any other purpose at the church's discretion. The recommended action is to approve the agreement and authorize the mayor to execute the same on behalf of the city.
Question.
Yes.
So when the payment was made back in 2015, was it assuming that this property that has the brick building was included in that payment?
I'd have to ask the Director of Public Works to come forward, but as Mr. Daughtry was speaking, what came to my mind was either a conflict in the way it was recorded in the beginning, but, because I wasn't here in 2015, Brad.
So when the project was taken down, the project was envisioned that that structure would remain there and that it would be able to continue to be used. As we worked through design, it became apparent that the structure would not be able to remain. We bid a project which included relocating the structure the first time through. That blew the budget out of the water. So we decided to pursue another tack, was simply get the structure approved, get it priced for what it would cost to relocate it, and then pay the church, and they can do what they want with it. But the original intention was the drainage project was done, and it would still be able to maintain the use of that structure. But it's such now that the structure's got to go for the project. So we're just trying to segregate relocation of the structure from the drainage project, and let the church pursue that however they see fit. We did get the approval from the HBC, so all they need to do is hire the contractor and build it.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. A motion by Councilmember Blackwell, seconded by Councilmember Joyner. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Item 15 is approved. Item 16 is a consideration, this is for 12 Axon in-car camera systems with a 5-year contract. It does include the warranty, maintenance, and software and TASER insurance plan to a cost of $113,483. The bidder approved as sole source provider based on standardization or compatibility. Recommended actions to award the bid is recommended. Authorize the mayor to execute the same on behalf of the city.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Rogers, second by Councilmember Blackwell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Item 16 is approved. Item 17 is a consideration of a bid for Holly Street Park constructions and renovations. This was awarded to Weaver's Asphalt Maintenance Company. An alternative bid, cost and contingency. Item 2 is a project ordinance to increase the appropriations in the project ordinance of the Holly Street Park renovation project by $59,428 to cover the cost of the contract award. The recommended actions to award the bid is recommended and authorize the mayor to execute the contract on behalf of the city and to adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Joyner, second by Councilmember Blackwell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Item 17 is approved.
And Mayor, this makes me think about just the parks in general. And it seems like to me it's been a while since we had a real update on parks and our overall expansion plans and renovation plans. And it seems like it'd be appropriate to have a review of that in an upcoming committee of the whole meeting.
Yes, sir.
Item 18, this is a consideration of our 2019-20 annual action plan for the Down East Home Consortium. It's required for eligibility for the Home Partnership Investment Funds and the CDBG entitlement allocation. There was a public display period from May 20th through June 19th, and we did not have any comments as of June 19th. We did receive some after that, and they were included. Recommended actions to approve the plan and authorize the mayor to execute any required documentation or certifications.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Knight, second by Councilmember Joyner. Any other discussion? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
And then Mayor, let me make a comment about that. And we talked about this at a recent meeting. That public comment and public participation is an important part of this. And I think we've got to figure out a way to be more creative to get more people there. Because people need to know about it and maybe they have ideas and input that would be beneficial to the overall program. So I hope we will put our creative hats on and see if we can figure out a way to gin up some more participation.
All right. Item 19, this is an appointment. This is for the Animal Care and Control Advisory Board. It's, we've saw that essay. Is that? Okay. It's Ward 3. The term would expire on 6/30/2020. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Aye. Was there a motion? Somebody make a motion, I'm assuming Richard
Make
did.
the motion.
And Andre seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We have a closed session to go into for a personnel matter. I need a motion.
So moved.
Motion second. Yes.
Can you give me a moment first pleasure, please? I'd like to
Sure.
thank those folks that came up here and spoke about the ceremonies for Hoover Jones. I'd also like to let you know that it was overlooked by the media and so forth and all, but the city of Rocky Mount made a resolution and named that Memorial Day this year in his honor. And those resolutions were given to elderly assistants. The final, well, we don't know for sure, but the last, the burial of the funeral was yesterday afternoon. And I would like to say thank you to the probably 300 or 400 people who were there, and especially our veterans and most of our members of the council were there also. And so we salute Hoover Jones, and may he rest in peace, and his family know that we care for them also. Thank you.
We are going to go back into an open session in the back to finish up what we were doing, and then we'll go into a closed session for a personnel matter. So at this time, city council meeting is adjourned.
Call this meeting of the committee of the whole back to order, and we'll unrecess the meeting. Recognize the city manager.
Thank you, sir.
Well, you want to call Chris back today?
Well, we should actually. Yeah, I think I want to
Sounds like.
on a day or two.
We're back.
Hello?
Chris?
Yeah.
We are reconvening the committee of the whole meeting, if you're available to join us.
Thank you.
Okay?
Okay,
Madam Manager?
thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. Before we adjourn or recess, Ted Cole was just wrapping up his presentation on project concept number 2. And the next item was a discussion from Amy regarding our next steps.
Andy, you want to come down here so you can be right here at this microphone and Chris can hear you.
So we've had a pretty detailed timeline for this project, and just to recap for what we've done and where we're headed next. Some of the major things that we have done is first reaching out to the local government commission, and that's been not just one time, but a couple of times, talking to them about our project and just some ongoing discussions with them. They gave us a couple of things that they wanted us to do. One of those was to continue to refine our financial analysis, which we're doing with Davenport. They wanted an economic impact study, which we've done and you've heard today from Novogradac. And then there's a few other things that we still have in the works. With the LGC, and I talked to them earlier today just to give them another update and see if there was anything additional that they needed at this point. They continue to talk about the pricing. They want to make sure the pricing on the garage is adequate. They want to make sure it's adequate, meaning it's enough to do the project, but also not excessive. So I think we can all appreciate just getting the pricing right. And they're open to any suggestions that we might have in coming up with what that pricing is. But the two ways we talked about is that the developer would bid it out and have their pricing. You could do it that way. Or you can take the construction plans and give those to a third party, which we've talked to a third party that will do that. It would take them anywhere, probably about 4 weeks to look at those plans, and they would give us an estimate on what that pricing is. So, we've got that we can do, but we would need the construction documents in order to proceed in that way. But that would give the local government commission and us some comfort in going that approach as well. The local government commission, the staff has also expressed a couple of other things that we're working on, and I don't feel that's going to be a problem, but they want a commitment on the total project, and we have addressed that in the development agreement that you heard about earlier. They'll want to see something with the plans to know that the total project is going to happen. They want some confirmation of the hotel chain that will be there and confirmation from the developer that the financing is in place. So all of those things are underway. I don't think that's any surprise to anyone, but those are some of the next steps for us. Alongside that, once you make a decision, or if you make a decision on a concept, that'll kick off where we go with construction plans, and I can get back with the local government commission. We don't have a date set to get with the commission yet. I've still got to get a date set, but they don't feel that we're farther enough along at this point to set a date. They need to know what our timetable is going to be for construction documents, the pricing on the garage, and all the other items that we've talked about. And we can get that in place. We just need to work through that a little bit more. Once we have decided on that date, there's a couple of steps, just like when we've been through installment financing in the past. There are notices that go out. There are things that will come before this body to approve a resolution for me to go and do the financing, and time for a public hearing. So it'll go through the normal process that you're used to when we do any financing. And that will probably occur. You'd probably see something just about at every council meeting for that. But that's just part of the process. We're also working with the New Markets Tax Credit, the CDEs. Those are the investors. So we've been having discussions with them. They appear to support this project, but they're also doing their due diligence. They've asked for some information that we're working with them on now, and that's just the process. What they're going to need to do is actually release the land that we're going to be constructing the parking structure as well as the hotel on. So it's not that, that seems to be moving along, but again, it's just a process. Once they move through that, they would release it, and that would just be part of the closing that we have in the end after the local government commission has approved it. So that is also in the works, and don't see any issue with that at this point. Let me see if there's anything else of significance. You've also seen the agreements. A lot of time till now has been spent just on the project development agreement, to the ground lease and the capital lease, and those are while they're getting closer, they're still in draft form, and those are the documents that are out for the public to view now. But eventually you would agree on the executing of those pending the local government commission's approval. Anything I left out? Any questions?
Well, I have one. So what estimated time do you think before staff can get all those things prepared? And
Well,
all that's not totally dependent upon staff, but in terms of work with the developer and all the
Yes.
other entities, what timeframe can we look at?
Our current time frame was hopeful to get before the local government commission in August. I really don't think that's something that we're gonna be able to do. There's just, although everybody's working really hard, it's just something that takes time. And we also, we've got the CDEs, we gotta give them their time to do their due diligence, as well as the developer and ourselves. So, I think everybody is really working hard, but I think it's gonna take a little more time. If we go really fast, we could make September, but I think we're probably looking more toward the fall.
For the LGC.
Yes.
Other questions?
have we decided, or is this gonna be?
By the fall, you mean October or beyond?
October, I think October's is achievable.
Do we know yet where the new market tax credits will be on this particular phase of the construction, or this one, or will it cover the entire loan?
There aren't any new markets that are part of the financing for this project. The new markets were on the event center financing, and where the event center, the facility sits, and the parking, the current surface parking, that was all part of the new markets financing package. So what we're doing is having them release the portion that is just the surface parking, so that we can develop that. And they're willing to do that because this is exactly what the new markets want to see happen.
So we'll just have one tax credit if we get approval from the local government commission.
Well, there's no new markets tax credit. That was on the event center financing. This project that we're talking about now has no new markets in it.
Thank you.
Other questions for Amy? Thank you.
So, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and Council, that brings us to the last item that we have on the agenda, and that is the recommendation, the city manager's recommendation for you to adopt project concept number 2. This evening, it's really gratuitous for us to think that we can go any further without having either concept 1 or concept 2 to go forward. For the reasons that have been presented to you in earlier presentations, it's certainly my recommendation. I think the mayor picked up on that very early in Ted's presentation, that we really needed to just start talking about concept 2. But concept 2 does provide adequate parking spaces that are required for the hotel. It replaces and expands the number of parking spaces for the event center. That reduces the need for off-site parking. And it also provides parking for retail businesses in and around the Douglas block. Secondly, it requires less use of reserves to avoid a tax rate increase as was compared to project concept number 1. And also just want to reiterate that concept 2 keeps us well within the city's debt management policies. So for those reasons and probably others, I'm recommending that the council adopt project concept number 2, which provides for 1 parking garage, 700 spaces.
So make a motion to accept city manager proposal.
Second.
Discussion, questions?
I'd still like to see an option 3 with 500 park deck and 200 surface parks. I don't get a vote here, so that would be my recommendation.
Other questions or discussion? Did I hear somebody over here?
What you said, thank you.
Oh. I'll just simply say this. I've from the very beginning, I've been concerned about the cost of this. The city's investment, the event center, in my mind, was intended to spur economic development and more specifically private development. And while this project has got a private development component to it, it's also requiring the city to make a pretty substantial contribution to the process. Mary Nash corrected me a little, or somebody corrected me earlier when I used the word impair our ability to borrow. Maybe that's looking at it a little too negatively. It does utilize our capacity in the form of about almost $18 million. And we've just got the event center open, and while it's tracking according to plan, Madam Manager, as I understand it, it's just developing and it's still really yet to be proven. So I am hesitant for us to engage in this project with this commitment. I'd love to see a hotel there. I'd like to see it on different terms, maybe like the mayor prescribes. Quite frankly, I'd like to see one that utilized only surface parking. So that's my comment about the option. I'd like to see an option 3. There would either be less parking, a smaller parking deck, or more preferably surface parking with minimal city investment into the project. Any other questions or comments?
I have a comment. If I read the information correctly, which has been verified by our staff and 2 consultants who are industry leaders in what they do, I'm trying to go right to the point. The impact is about 1,000 jobs and over $100 million in return to our community. You don't get it return unless you make investment. Return follows investment. And we always said that we'll know if we have a winner if there's a hotel that happens in the first 2 years. We got a hotel in 3 months. So I support this project. The scope is exciting. Hotels are working all over Rocky Mount, clearly. We have, at least according to what I read in the newspaper, we got 2 more coming up in northwest Rocky Mount. So demand must be strong. We have 3,500 jobs coming in 2 years or less. We have growth that's tracking and trending in all of Rocky Mount. And I support the project. So I'd like to call for a question unless somebody else got something to say. I'm sure everybody got something to say.
I just have a comment. And I support the project because that's what we envisioned when we built the event center, that we would have other economic development that would come on soon after it was built. Larry Nash and Ted also stated even if we take on this additional project, that we would have a cushion to do this project. And so I also feel that we really wanted a parking deck from the outset, but from the outcry of some of the naysayers pushed us back and scaled it back. And so we do have a private developer who has come to the table. He said all he's doing is priming the pump. And it's been a long time since the pump been primed on this side of the track. So I want to not only just prime the pump, I want the water to continue to flow. We have this economic impact analysis that talks about direct tax and induced tax, and it looks very promising to us. I think if we don't act now and act quickly before October, that we're gonna miss this. And if we miss it, then it's gonna be hard for us to bring somebody back to the table. And so I'm just saying I support it, and we ask the Mayor Pro Tem, you call for the question at this time.
Chris? Chris?
Must be enjoying
Huh?
time away from work.
Well, I haven't spoken yet.
Okay, yeah, please.
I think that, well, the big question about not going forward was all about the parking concept. And there's some question about the developer not being known in the media record and all of that. And so our staff has vetted him, and he has a successful track record of doing this kind of projects. And then by us choosing to do parking concept number 2, we are reducing the original parking needs from $9 million down to 17.75. And then today, with all the information from our consultants on economic impact, that I feel even better than I did after the reduction in that about 9 million, it's even better. And so I support the project, I want to see us go forward.
Richard?
I certainly,
Chris, we're getting ready to take a vote, if you'll just hang on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah. Hold on one second, Richard's speaking.
You don't let her go ahead on and talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, I certainly support this opportunity. Ward 3 and the ward surrounding our downtown has been looked at for opportunity zone. And I think that this here gives the residents of these wards to take advantage of the opportunities that other people have been taking advantage of. And I definitely support it because of the growth that it's going to increase and the opportunities within our ward. We talked about the jobs. We talked about jobs where people can walk to. And it's not just the construction jobs, but it's the continuing jobs that are going to have a continuing impact upon our region. And not to go forward now would be to deny those wards the opportunity to grow. And I encourage us to give these wards, to give this region the opportunity to grow.
WB?
Hello?
Excuse me, Chris.
Chris, go ahead. I don't know if you want to speak on this. We're getting, there
Yes,
was a motion,
I did.
there was a motion
I
to
support.
approve parking concept number 2. I think that's what, so, and as a vote and a second, so we're just having that discussion.
Not this project at this time. I would support the incentive, the proposal 3 that you advocated for. I'd certainly like to hear more about that, but not concept 1 or 2 at this time. We did make this investment, this public investment over a number of years, but it was to intent private investment. This is not exactly private investment.
Okay, WB, you want to make a comment? Okay.
I want to clarify, that's not true. It's not true.
Oh, no, yeah.
That's right, this is a private investment, let's talk about that if you want to. Part of it is public, but the overwhelming lion's share is private. Am I correct? By how much? How much, the hotel, the parking deck is how much?
67 million.
17.
That's 149 million.
Thank you.
So how you turn that to be public? I don't
Right,
know.
so this is a considerable private investment.
That's why it's being done under the P3 statute.
Right.
That's 49 million.
We can't hear Chris very well. I'll restate what I said earlier. I don't disagree about the size of the private investment, but it's requiring to do this deal I don't think you can say it any other way, a substantial public investment at the same time. And I'll go back to the event center concept. At least as I understood where we were as a body, there were 2 things that stood out in my mind. Number one, we were advised if we did the event center, we would not do or shouldn't do a substantial project ourselves for the foreseeable future. And I'm straining to remember the exact time, 3 to 5 years. That's what's in my head. The second component of it is, and I guess I'm restating what I said earlier as well as what Chris said, and that is that we in fact, the whole concept of the event center was to generate private investment. And in this case, we've got a private investment, but it's requiring us to make a pretty substantial public investment as well. So, any other discussion or questions of any of the experts in the room?
Well, I just want to, you said that it's a 3 to 5 years, but to my recollection, and I'm getting older, that it did not max us out from doing any other projects. We were still doing well as a city, and they could borrow and could do other projects if we had chosen to do so. It didn't max us out. So I don't want the public or the paper
I agree with
or the media to say that, doing this project, they said we couldn't do anything else. Matter of fact, they said we were looking very good financially.
Right.
And over the years, Rocky Mount has done an excellent job in their finances and being pretty much conservative in what we have done. And we, you know, so the bottom line is, you know, certain folks don't want the project done. They don't like the location. Now they want to cherry pick it because a major contractor wants to now throw in some off-site parking, saying to reduce the cost. And it's not compatible to what the developer want to do. So if we're gonna grow and be a city, let's be a city. Let's be a city. We got CSX, we have all this industry coming, you know, people wanting to move back to Rocky Mount, have entertainment, restaurants and places to go. And we sitting here bickering about parking spaces, you know. And I understand, you know, the question has been called, and I think we want to see this project move forward. Well,
It's just 18 million for parking,
Well,
that's all.
And
It comes with it.
jobs. And
Okay, any other
$40 million
questions or
in
comments?
return.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to accept option 2. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say aye. Aye.
Chris, are you a yay or a nay?
Nay.
Okay.
Okay, the ayes have it.
I'm expressing an opinion in a committee of the whole.
Let's see. So, Madam Manager, we're completed this.
Yes, sir.
So we are now at a point of needing to go into a closed session to discuss a personnel matter.
Yes, at my request.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You want to take a
We can take a 5-minute break. I did vote yes.